Okay, so yeah, those videos worked out okay. Noticed that on my eyes are kind of dry, and I'm very tired. So if I seem out of it, it's because I only had 4 hours of sleep last night, thanks to my fucking neighbors making a ton of noise till almost 1 o'clock. Anyway, um, so I know one of the things to work on from last week is to make sure you're only tapping your foot on the downbeat, not both down and upbeat, and changing the feel from 16th notes to 8th notes, which was one of the things being addressed in exercise number 1 from last time. So hopefully the foot tapping was just on the 1, 2, 3, 4, not the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. One thing I heard, which is we're going to be working on here with the new number 1 for this week, there's a little bit of swinging happening on the 16th, like a straight 16th note thing. So like, say you had a full beat of 16th notes, a lot of times there was, in the fast version here, instead of having just the da 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 da, it was more like a da 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 da. So again, put this at 100 to demonstrate here what I mean. So strict 16th notes would sound like, but the swing deal was more like, no, how the heck would now I'm having a hard time replicating it now. There we go. There we go. 1, 2. So what's happening is you're putting a space, too much of a space between the downstroke and the upstroke. So you're basically not coming up with the upstroke at the proper time, and it's creating a swing feel. So that's why this thing here is straight 16th notes, and I want you to think about being very mechanical when you do this, which is kind of going against some of the stuff we have talked about and wanting to be fluid. I'm actually working on this with somebody else right now who has a tendency to put a little bit of a swing in some of these 16th note patterns. So it's not an uncommon thing for this to happen. And you know, the more you work with this stuff, the more precise you become. So yes, having a nice fluid strumming motion is important, but you might have it just a little too fluid right now, and that's causing a lack of more mechanical playing. And with metal, we want to be pretty mechanical in terms of our level of precision. So we want this stuff to be as dead on as possible. So each bar gets progressively more difficult. So I want you to try and focus your best to make sure every single pick stroke is just da 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 da. Everything is hitting just da 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 da, the exact same space apart. So you gotta hit the upstroke a little bit sooner than you think you need to when you're getting faster. So hopefully just being aware of this is gonna help. So again, you need to hit your upstroke a little bit sooner than you have been doing. The upstroke is delayed. So here's what we got at 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2 and a 3, 4 and a 1, 2 and a 3 and a 3 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1. here's 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. And make sure. So one thing that didn't happen in the video that you sent was no counting along with the rhythm. So remember, that's something I want to make sure you're able to do. So for at least the 60 beat per minute stuff, I'd like you to continue saying it as you play it during the demo stuff, okay? So here we go. Obviously, numbers 2 and 3 yesterday is much more difficult to do that, but this is going to be a little more applicable. So basically, we have 16th note, 16th note, 16th, or an 8th plus a 16. There we go, 16, 16, 16 plus an 8, 16, 16, then we just end with the quarter note here. So it's got a pattern that's happening there. Basically, this right here gets repeated here, and then it starts to repeat here. But this is kind of like what we've done before, like 2 weeks ago. Like this is like the introduction to the harder version of what we're gonna do. So, see if you can figure out what the rhythm is before you listen to this. Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is now. So, you always want to look at these things and beat at a time. Break it down. So there's your first beat. So we got your 1 E and. So you're not playing on the that is being carried out because of the 8th note. So you got your 1 E and here is beat number 2. So nothing's being played on the 2. That's being held over this whole duration. So all that's being held out. So for beat number 2, we're playing on the E and E and and then here, if you look at it as a gallop rhythm, this is going to be helpful. So it is a gallop rhythm that we're seeing here. However, we are not playing on the downbeat of that gallop rhythm for beat number 3. So we're just playing on the and then good old quarter note there. So put all that together. What do we have? It's your 1 E and 4. So as we like to do to make sure we get the rhythm correct, I'm going to just count it along with the click. Make sure you can do that first before starting to strum anything. Tapping the foot only when the metronome clicks. So let's see, we got 1 E and 4. 1 E and. Goodness, sorry again. As I warned you, my brain is just tonight. 1 E and a 4. 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 So I'm quietly saying beats 2 and 3, the downbeats there, to help me keep track of where I'm at, as we've talked about before. So this way you have less of a chance of getting lost in the rhythm, and you're just emphasizing the part that you're playing there. So now we got that established. Let's play the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and oh my goodness, this is gonna be interesting, more interesting than it already is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. 1 and 4. 1 and I missed it. Oh boy. 1, 2, wish me luck. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. 1 E and 2 E and a 3 and a 4. And keep that pick moving like you just saw. But the only time I might stop moving the pick is just when I hit that last quarter note. Alright, I'm going to play it safe and go to 80 next. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go with 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a bonus part if you'd like to throw it in. If you feel like being fancy. Anyway, so here, another thing, kind of another intro to a more challenging rhythm. So we constantly go between a 16th note and an 8th note. So 16th note, 8th note, 16th note, 8th note, 16th note, length of an 8th note. We do it this way to make it much easier to see where this chord comes in and where the new beat begins. So it's still 16th note, duration of an 8th note, 16th note, 8th note, and then we simplify it and hit it with a quarter note. So if we were to continue that, you'd have these 3 beats. Basically the rhythm of these 3 beats would begin again on beat 4, which is what's going to happen very soon. So rhythm wise, again, see if you can figure it out before you watch this next part. And here we go. So beat at a time. You have done this rhythm before. That's doing like the 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, 4 E, da 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 da. And then we got a gallop, which you know that. Here it's kind of a reverse gallop, so I like to look at it as a reverse gallop, but recognize that nothing's being played on that first 16th note. So again, I like to think of it as the reverse gallop there, just without that first part being played. Just kind of makes it easier for me to call upon something familiar, and which is an important thing to do. Look for familiar patterns as much as you can, and it helps to simplify the playing and reading and comprehension process and all that fun stuff. So anyway, so yeah, we got the 1 E, and 2 and this is on the 3, so we got E and 4. So once again, let's start with just the count. I think I forgot to count off 4 last time, so you knew when I was going to start. Sorry, I'll do it this time because now I'm thinking about it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E, 2 and E and 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 4. make sure you can do that, and then do this where you play it and say it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and E and 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 4. So follow suit like the last rhythm and do it at 80. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and E and 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 4. And 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, right. That really covers about pretty much everything there. Well, I guess one thing I did hear on the fast version of, was it number 3, from last week, and this is tough to really hear and truly feel, so not a huge issue, but I just want to point this out because that rhythm is here. So basically, remember number 3 from last week where you just do like the quick up down up down up down up down. You actually rushed the down a little bit too, just too much in terms of making it dead on accurate. So I think what was happening is which kind of actually gives it kind of a swing feel, because yeah, I mean that's basically kind of what's happening there. So again, like with the swing thing involving all 4 16th notes, it's like, say like I want this to look correct in the camera here, so like going from the way we normally look at it, so like you're down up. So what's happening is the up is being squished over this way, and then so you have up down like really fast together right there. So I guess what was happening, not necessarily that you were hitting the upstroke too soon, but I think what's happened, and you're just hitting the up down, kind of like getting it out of the way, like almost trying to just kind of knock it out as soon as you can, instead of just having a tiny bit more patience in where you're placing the down stroke. Maybe not having patience with it, that's probably not the right word. Just having a little bit more awareness of where it really should go is kind of what it is. But again, it's a really tough rhythm, especially going that fast. It's hard to lock in on everything, but just being nitpicky about stuff, something to keep in mind, because again, that is the rhythm right here. So think about being a little bit more aware of when you're doing the downstroke for this part. So you just want to have a tad more space when you get to that fast stuff. But it's all part of the process. Overall, it was good. And yes, you were right. You got a little off on number 2 on the fast there. But I know you were kind of under the gun there in the hotel and trying to get everything done. And I do appreciate you getting her done. What happened was you ended up slowing down enough to where the final stroke you did became the downbeat. So that's what happened. So in case you'd like to revisit it and make sure you can do it, that's what happened there. But again, 100 beats a minute for that particular rhythm the number 2 from last week is not easy. It is not easy. So overall, definitely good job, and I think that covers everything to talk about. And oh man, there went a dry spell on my eyeballs. Goodness, I hope I can get some sleep tonight, man. Got some new earplugs that might help. Anyway, any questions come up, please let me know. I'll see you again on Friday.